Looks like we're going here. So, let's see. I am going to go ahead and just get this set up here. Anybody who wants to call in, go ahead, call in. We've got the phone line is open, literally. Same phone as ever, different case right here. All right. So let's see. Let's start with this lovely news we have in front of us here because, well, may as well talk about it. All right. So we are currently. Okay, this was actually a surprise to me. We are currently at over 8 million cases and 217,000 reported deaths. That's a minimum. I think that's a low end number. You can kind of see the overall track on it there, that it's going up a bit. So before we go any further, I light this in their memory. For all those who have not made it. Honestly, there's not enough of these. Could never light enough. All right. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on, where we're at. We are on a bit of an uptick here. The new cases in the United States have gone up a bit. Apparently last week Texas underwent a bit of a surge. Florida's going up a bit. You might have heard there's a little bit of a controversy in that the Johns Hopkins numbers are indicating that we are having a higher positive rate than what the state is reporting, and that is kind of not surprising. You can see the cases over time are going up here. Yesterday we had 65,000 new cases. So it is continuing. One of the things that I want to say, all right, so let's talk about what we need to do to stay safe, what we need to do to stay healthy. So, you know the basic things, right? All right, but let's just kind of remind ourselves, because one of the biggest things that I don't think we are always keeping track of is the fact that we are so much safer when we are indoors. Any activities that we conduct indoors, we are so much better off. So let's just start with, if you have any possible way of doing your shopping where you can have it taken out to curbside delivery, that is always a very, very good start. So a variety of things like that. If you're going to meet with friends, meet with them outside. My friends, I met with my friends who I've known for some years now, Cameron and Mary Beth, and we went and we had a little bit of wine at an outdoor wine place, and we sat outside. We were we're very careful about these things. We still wear masks, even at a distance. Except sipping the wine and that kind of thing, and we're still at a good distance from each other because their circle is safe, our circle is safe, but still, unless there's any good reason, why should we be cross-contaminating? So this is really the thing, all right, is that it is getting colder. It is much more tempting to be spending your time indoors. And of course, one needs to a certain extent. But if you can, again, just get them warm clothes, bundle up, go outside if you can, spend more time. Again, don't make yourself sick being outside, but you understand what I'm saying. Another thing that I just kind of want to comment on is that there's kind of, I think, some cultural stuff that we're seeing here. And now this is pure speculation on my part. But I was hearing that recently Wisconsin was a place that was having a bit of a spike in coronavirus cases. And I think that one of the reasons why this may be happening is because it is getting colder, and it gets colder much more quickly up there in the Midwest than it does in places like where I'm at here in Florida. But also, I think that you've got a certain amount of So one of the things about Wisconsin, Minnesota, that whole northern Midwest area, is you have a lot of people from Scandinavia who move there. Norwegians, Swedish people, that kind of thing. And having a sister-in-law who is a different sister-in-law, who is who's Scandinavian and from that area, and just kind of knowing a little bit about this, and admittedly, but when you've got a cultural group that's strong in an area, they'll kind of make fun of themselves and talk about it in a way that maybe isn't appropriate for me to talk outside of that. But it does strike me that the Scandinavians typically are better at engaging in indoor winter activities. Like I think of things like saunas, but I also think of things like, board games. You really want to look at some of the greatest board games that came out before, the recent board game renaissance. So many of them are coming out of Scandinavia, Games Workshop, that kind of thing. Because, honestly, it's cold, you're inside. If you're going to spend time with friends, well, you have something to do spend time with friends. Board games are great, but the coronavirus is going on. So please, if you can possibly play that game online, play that game online. All right, so let's see if anybody's started to chat here. I need to make certain I got that window open so people can talk to me. Okay, there we go. Gonna move a couple things around, rearranging the little desktop stuff so that I can see what's going on. There we go. I think that'll work. I'm not one of those people who has multiple screens going on. I'm like, the screen here and this screen here. No, right here. And yes, you may have guessed that I am essentially, looking straight into the same screen that I'm shooting this on. But let's talk about some of the things that are going on and what the situation is. Let's go to, we're on the wrong subreddit. That's not quite the right one. Let's go to COVID-19 support. I do notice that Reddit has gotten a little bit better. I don't know if you've noticed this, but some of the more freewheeling, weird subreddits about coronavirus seem to be a little bit more focused on the facts and science than they once were. That's kind of nice. I noticed that Jennifer Cole is now a moderator on the coronavirus support subreddit, not just the COVID-19 support subreddit, so that's good. She seems to be doing pretty good work there. But let's take a look and see what we have here. So we've got the weekly update sticky. Okay, so all right, so there have been concerns about aerosolized transmission and that kind of thing. Really, I want to highlight this because this is really the most important part. Essentially, nothing's really changed about the virus is spread since the earliest known days. It was not truly airborne. It's basically short version, okay, is that yes, it can, okay, it's always been droplets. It's always been the problem. The question is how small of droplets and how far will those droplets go? And the short answer is, probably maybe a little bit farther than we thought, but not so bad. To say that it aerosolizes and that kind of thing, not really. So really the short answer is that it does not linger in the air under hours where there is adequate ventilation, and particularly that does not linger in the air outdoors. And again, one of those things. From what I understand, it is 20 times safer to be outdoors in a coronavirus situation than it is to be indoors. She really goes through this and clears it up. So if you've got one of those things that you're worried about there, definitely clear it up. Read this, because the sticky on this is actually quite useful. I wish it wasn't so busy trying to give me all the stuff on the sidebar. There we go. Okay. So all right, we're actually going to be looking up some good news stories here, see what we can find. Oh, no, that wasn't. Okay, well, that link does not seem to work, so we're going to skip that link for now. Let's see. Now, here's really the thing, though, is that there is a lot more there's a lot more information that we have now than we did. And a lot of this information that's coming out is actually quite positive. So one of the things there is that there is a lot of positive activity on the vaccine front. It looks like we are going to have a vaccine maybe even before the end of the year. We're not going to make that whole, President, Trump was hoping we're going to have it by, Election Day or by the end of October thing. Nobody really thought that was going to happen. It was a nice idea, wasn't it? Okay, so there's been some positive things going on with the vaccines. I believe the Chinese vaccine has been proven safe in humans, at least so far, in the earliest iterations. So we've got some positive things coming out of it. They are saying that for people who are not at risk, or not in the high risk group, so if you're a younger person and you have the option of staying at home and that kind of thing, then it might be a little while before you get the vaccine. It really just kind of depends on how implementation comes along. We have the active cases fall below 100 for the first time in Singapore. That's pretty good news. Trump administration will it be administering the vaccine through CVS and Walgreens? Well, I know several street corners. Will you be able to choose where do you want to get it? This corner or that corner? They usually set up right aside from each other. So hey, that's going to be handy. CDC is optimistic the vaccines will be released by the end of the year. That is exactly what we're hoping to hear. So who knows? We might have ourselves a nice Christmas present. Again, just because it's released doesn't mean we're all going to be able to get it, but that's good. This is a new one. I didn't know this. So United Airlines is saying that the exposure is virtually non-existent. Let's see. There is a .003 study conducted by Department of Defense in partnership with United Airlines published Thursday. 300 tests in over 6 months with a mannequin on a United plane. The mannequin was equipped with an aerosol generator that allowed technicians to reproduce breathing, coughing. Each test released 100 million particles, equivalent to the number of particles to be released by thousands of coughs. Wow, that's a lot. Okay. They studied the way the mannequin's particles moved inside the cabin with the mask on and off. Okay, so basically this is saying what we always knew, and that is that masks are a good idea. And actually, it even looks like masks will help in scenarios where you're all packed in tight, like an airplane cabin. So hey, that's even better news. So good. I'm not, I'll be honest with you, I am one of those people who's going to be looking at, United Airlines has released a study that tells you it's perfectly safe to fly in their airplanes. Okay, little bit cautious about that messenger there. There's a couple of things where I'm like, but nevertheless, that is, good news. And as I had mentioned before, this is another good one. If you have type O blood, you have a lower risk of catching coronavirus. So let's just go over this real quick. While type O is actually one of the negative ones, it is actually, definitely one that is helpful. Now, here's actually another thing that I want to just briefly touch on, and that is the blood type compatibility. Now, what is interesting about this, and this is something which I learned that apparently, if there is a person who has had coronavirus and then they recover from it, and then they have a coronavirus antibody test, and they have a high amount of coronavirus antibodies in their blood. So if, but this happens to a fair number of people, then they can donate blood to another person who has coronavirus, and it will help them recover. So it's one of those things which is actually quite handy. And here's the really good thing, is that people with O negative blood, all right, and that's the far left column there, can donate blood to anybody. So good news is you are actually, if you have O negative blood, now that's not saying, I want to go over this real quick, all right, this is not saying that you are less likely to catch it, or less likely to catch it, but you're also less likely to have severe symptoms. So that means that there will be more people with type O blood that can hopefully donate and, produce antibodies. So I'm going to say this. I do not know, but if you have type O blood and you have had coronavirus, then you might want to look into seeing if you can donate, and that would be quite useful in any number of ways. All right, Oxford scientists have developed a 5-minute test. That's kind of handy. How does this one work? Virus particles, doesn't really say. So I don't know if this is one that sticks straight up your nose, but 5 minutes is a good period of time to find out whether or not you are sick. So, California's death rate has been dropping. That's always good. One of the American vaccine trials is on track here, so that's also good. So yeah, there's a few side effects, but nothing that is really going to keep them from really probably making it and making sure that it works. So I'm going back a few days here, but there's been a fair amount of positive developments in the past week or so. So here's really the thing that I want to share with you. So I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about. Oh, you can go to Panama. I want to go to Panama. All right, that's that page. We're good for now. Okay, so. I'm just going to stop that right there. Okay, so here's really the thing. I told you a little bit, I told you a little bit about my sister on the previous live stream. It's been, 2 weeks now? I took last week off. I got it all set up, and I decided that I was just better off, spending the time taking care of me, because if you saw some of the live stream from 2 weeks ago, I was just a mess. So here we are, and so my sister Kalima is doing better now. She should be COVID free by now. Theoretically, the 2-week time period that we give is going to be up on Tuesday, I believe. So by that point in time, she should be well. Also, my daughter, who lives with her auntie, is doing well. So she actually did not catch COVID, and that is quite nice. So she's been getting tested pretty regularly, and the last couple ones have come out negative, along with all the others. So that's good. So kind of saved one there. Now, I actually want to share with you on that note. Let's see if we can find it. I'm going to back up a couple notches here to find this. There we go. So, I believe that we had... No, it's not there. Okay. Let me find it. This is one of those things. I'll be honest with you, folks. Thank you for hanging in with me here. And if anybody who has anything to say and wants to chime in here, I would love to hear from y'all. But I am doing these after a long day of blacksmithing, so I don't quite get all the stuff that I would like to. Okay, so here we go. It is on the coronavirus subreddit. Let's see if I can find it. So this is one that I found interesting. So USA, good news, USA, Europe, world. Oh, is it on the next page? It's amazing how oh, there we go. This is what I was looking for. Okay. So. All right, so now this is a couple of folks who are in Canada, Winnipeg, in case you don't know where that is. That's Eastern Canada, I believe. So, and this in the headline here kind of tells you what's going on. She has coronavirus, her roommate doesn't. How two Winnipeggers are avoiding each other at home. Okay, so here's really the thing. They're basically, I think they're college. They're 22. I don't know if they're in college. Don't know if it specifies. So really, they're basically taking some fairly, standard precautions. They have strict protocols at home. They wear masks, sanitize often, and they eat in their own rooms. Okay. Then when one of them is cooking, the other will wait in another area of their 2-bedroom apartment. So, this is the kind of thing. This is actually what's going on with my sister-in-law and my daughter. So my sister-in-law is a little bit better at kind of, isolating herself, but that's just because she, has not real social person. Okay. So they also, these 2 women are into fitness and take turns working out in the living room. That at least is not a problem with my sister-in-law and my daughter. So they're working out at different part of the days. They're keeping the windows open. So yeah, I would definitely say as much as you can, have protocols at home. These people seem to be doing pretty well as far as being able to keep separated from each other. And at least so far, knock on wood for, that one girl, she hasn't caught COVID from her roommate. So you can have a situation like this. I have a friend of mine who is generally always concerned about her roommates because her roommates are not practicing proper social distancing. It's really freaking her out. And you know what? I get it. It's pretty bad. But the fact of the matter is that it does seem that you can even have a roommate situation where as long as you're, practicing, proper care and proper distancing, then, you should be able to stay safe. All right, so I'm going to move this a little bit like so. Oop, not like that. Okay. All right. Ugh, itchy nose. Okay, so now, at this point in time, I'm going to sort of digress. We're going to talk a little bit about poetry here. So there has been, there's been a lot of creative effort that's been going on out there in the world as we've all sort of been locked away and hiding in our own little... Hang on, I think I have to... Oh my. I need to wash my hands. I'll be right back. The good news is, sneezing is not a symptom of coronavirus. That is almost certainly something out here. Ah. We're back. Okay, then. So, but there has been, and I think that was one of the things that really kind of struck me, was that there is, there was a poem, and I'm not gonna try finding it and reading it tonight. I'm gonna read it on Sunday night, and it's not as a positive one. It is one that simply was like, some of us are going to make it. A lot of us are going to make it. But we're going to lose some friends along the way. I've already lost one friend. I've told you a little bit about him. That's my friend Keith Pace. Excellent person. He'd be really mad that we got no choice but either Biden or, or Trump right now. He was a real Bernie fan. And, he was, it's sometimes hard to find people who are at least as solid on what they believe in their principles as Keith was. So, I'm always going to talk about Keith. He was one of those people who's worth talking about. But it was around that time that, I read a poem about how we're not all going to make it, we've seen worse times than this kind of thing, Well, some of us have. Some of us have made it. Not everyone does. But you probably will. Each one of us, there's a very good chance that we will. And we can do a lot more now than we could do before. So let's talk about, just briefly, before I get into the poetry, let's talk about the things that you personally can do right now to to reduce your coronavirus risk, okay? So you've been doing the social distancing, you've been wearing masks, you're washing, you're sanitizing, you're doing all the appropriate things. Other things you can do: take vitamin D, have at least, make certain you do not have a vitamin D deficiency. That is one of the most important things, okay? Now, high doses of vitamin D don't really seem to make any difference, but not having a vitamin D deficiency, very important. Another thing, okay, we all know this is a thing. There was a recent study that just came out, if you saw it yesterday, day before, that obesity is a problem. We've known that this is a problem. So if you can do something to, reduce that, that would help definitely. I'll be honest with you. You probably have seen Celeste on one of the live streams where we've been playing Pandemic and the games. And she has lost a lot of weight. And I think that, honestly, if you can take your... I mean, it's hard. It is hard to lose weight. It is damn hard. But if you can take your fear of coronavirus and use that as yet another motivation to do so, then, hey, maybe there's something positive that can come out of this. All right, so, but let's take a look at, I'm actually going to pull it up. Yeah, no, I'll pull it up here. I don't have the link ready, but that's all right. We'll make it a real quick one. Okay. Oh, there's a different one that came up before. You know what? I think I was looking at a different one. Okay. Oh, there's some very nice ones. All right, so actually, let's go to the British newspaper website. Now, these are ones that are not specifically coronavirus ones. These are just general ones that they have selected here. All right. Inshallah, that means as God will. Good Bones by Maggie Smith. Okay, yeah, that's after the Pulse shooting. All right. Wow, I think some of these are going to be hard. All right, these are not specific coronavirus ones, but I'm gonna read one of these here. I'm gonna read this one. This is the time to be slow. Lie low to the wall until the bitter weather passes. Try as best you can not to let the wire brush of doubt scrape from your heart all sense of self and your hesitant light. If you remain generous, time will come good, and you'll find your feet again on fresh pastures of promise, where the air will be kind and blushed with beginning. That's nice. I mean, and that's, that's what we're looking for on the other side. We're slow now. If we remain generous, time will come good. And I think that's a good spirit, I was talking a few weeks ago about how it's so easy for me to view, people that aren't wearing masks and that kind of thing as not as people, but as vectors, if you know what I'm saying. That they are simply a way of getting me sick, and that's what I'm seeing. And I need to remain generous. I need to remember that they are human as well, and that time will come good. And I'll find my feet again on fresh pastures of promise, where their air will be kind and blushed with beginning. I love that. That's wonderful. I think that was a good selection right there. So this is, Love has shown the narrator of this poem how happiness can lie in the little things, whether it's a walk in the park, food shopping, or getting a to-do list. At lunchtime, I bought a huge orange. The size of it made us all laugh. I peeled it and shared it with Robert. I peeled it and shared it with Robert and Dave. They got quarters and I got half. The orange, it made me so happy, as extraordinary things often do. As ordinary things often do. They have to be extraordinary. Ordinary things often do. Just lately, the shopping, a walk in the park. This is peace and contentment. It's new. The rest of the day was quite easy. I did all my jobs on my list and enjoyed them and had some time over. I love you. I'm glad I exist. Okay. I'm going to focus a little bit more on coronavirus stuff here. All right. So these are ones that people are just publishing. So, all right, we're just going to share these. We are making absolutely no judgment because we don't know who wrote this, you know? This is JL. The blossom will always grow. The seasons will always change. People come and go, their shadows comforting and strange. The flowers will always bloom once the darkness subsides. When every corner is filled with gloom, remember the sun just hides. Brighter days will follow, earth will keep moving. Look for the brighter color, help lift the darkness looming. Breathe in their air around us. Close your eyes for a moment's rest. Live life for those who guided us, for this moment is just a test. You will get stronger. Days will get longer. Hope will flourish. Memories to cherish. Huh. All right. I'm actually going to switch over to the Google machine. Might be where I'm going to find more luck with that. I think that might be where I was looking for. Okay. So. So this is Pandemic Spring. There's a few of them here. So this one is less of a poem. So I think I'm going to do this one now because I'm going to be doing some more of the more traditional sounding poetry later. But let's try this. So, an index for the time being. Afterward, antecedent, apocalyptic. Before, beginning, black hole, boomer, brunch. I can't remember the last one. Bygone, climate change. Counterfactuals. If Bernie had won. Covid-19. Cyclical. Debut. Decay. Institutional. Dimension. Distance. See social, emotional, physical. Eclipse. Emergency. Emotional. Distancing. End of a era. Feverish. Fleeting. Foreseeable. Foreshadow of a forever, seen timelines. Galactic. Gallivant, I miss it so. What if that's the show? Gathering, no larger than 10. Generations. Geological. Whole, see black, worm, threshold. Horizontal, movement of time. Hierology, hysteria, immediate, incessant, infectious, emission, eruption, see Covid-19, Jeffersonian, Julian, Jurassic period, not park. Just in time, karma, see cyclical, keep, time, but to it, two fleets. Last, time, as in goodbye. Late capitalism, left behind, lethargy, maritime, meantime, millennial, minute, as in small. Moon. Nether, never, none, now, if not when. Occult, as in event, not practice. Event, old, but young at heart. Past, as in tense. Physical, post, postponed, prolong, quadrilennial, see, postponed. Quaint, quarantine, as in 40 days. Queer, as in resilient. Racist, rebirth, relatively, repeat, twice. Resurrect and repeat. Rest, retreat, science fiction. Second, as in not first. Singularity, social distance, synchronic, threshold, time, being, passing, moving. Timeless, today, tomorrow, ultimate, see, last, zenith. Vortex, vigilante, viral. Warp, as in let's do the time warp again. Worm, see hole. Wrinkle, in time. X, as in 10, see gathering. Xenophobic, times. Year, yearn for, yesterday. Z, as in generation. Zenith, zombified. There's a lot of there, you know. A lot of stuff that's missing, but we live this way. And this is the way that we're living because we are keeping us all safe, right? The paper's edge is sharp beneath soft fingertips. My foot shakes, toes hitting the trim. Though this highlighter lid's click satisfies me for a second. Desk, cursor twitch. Hand finds another pen. Legs cross. Lips find coffee cup. Oh, it's empty. New tab. Glance outside. I've been holding my breath. Exhale. Open phone. Close it. Is that an ant or just a piece of dirt? Next song. Pop. Knuckles. Cut fingernails. And I do not know what the word cicada means. Cicada means. All right. So this is one that went viral a few months back in early May. And where is that poem? Come on. Okay. This is one that really kind of makes me think, okay, you know, some people were really just going to hit the nail on the head, and that's fine, because we really need to talk about this clearly sometimes, because, you know, we can dance around it, but, you know, let's be really honest, it's better if we just, in the time of the pandemic, and the people stayed home, and read books, and listened, and rested, and exercised, and made art, and played games, and learned new ways of being, and were still, and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced. Some met their shadows, and the people began to think differently. And the people healed, and in the evidence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. When the danger passed, and when the people joined again, they grieved their losses, and they made new choices, and they dreamed new images, and they created new ways to live and heal the earth fully, as they had been healed. So this is the one where you hope that there's a lesson to be learned, right? We hope that the lesson that we learn of taking care of ourselves, we can apply to the rest of the world. So let's talk about this in terms of news, right? Okay, so if you have been paying attention, you're aware that Chris Christie, he caught himself a bad case of the coronavirus. He was in ICU for what, 7 days, a week? That was pretty severe there. And he came out and he was like, he did what, oh my God, I wish we could have heard from other leaders after they came out from being sick. He said, I was wrong. I should have been much more careful. I needed to practice social distancing. I needed to do the things that, the scientists were saying to do, and I didn't. I was wrong. So wear a mask, practice social distancing, be careful. I'm going to give if you have to come to it the hard way, then you came to the hard way. But at least you came to the realization that this is, something that we all need, and we need to be taking care of this. So I'm really glad. I'm really glad that I'm not glad that he got sick, but I'm glad that he got better, and I'm glad that he's decided to share a positive message after that. So, Chris Christie is not somebody who you're very often going to hear me sing the praises of. He's kind of done some very hypocritical things here and there, but nevertheless, it's still, I cannot tell you how glad I am that is what's going on. Okay, so let's go back here for a minute. Oh, that's okay. All right, so I'm going to actually pull up some Robert Frost poetry here because, well, I like it. Okay, so I'm going to pull up a few of them here. Now, this is one where the way that this one makes me think of coronavirus is because this is kind of like, when we're being distant and we've got our social distancing, that this is, just kind of taking that walk alone. So, I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain and back in rain. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have looked down the saddest city lane. I have passed by the watchman on his beat and dropped my eyes, unwilling to explain. I have stood still and stopped at the sound of feet when far away an interrupted cry came over houses from another street. But not to call me back or to say goodbye, and further still at an unearthly height, one luminary clock against the sky proclaimed that time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night. I've always liked that one. Okay. Now, here's a short one. And anytime we get to the point where, there's, things start feeling apocalyptic, I always hit up this one. It's a classic. Some say the whirlwind and fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great, and would suffice. Okay. I forget if this one is short enough for me to really read. It is. Okay. That's what I thought. This is the one I was thinking of. Why make so much of fragmentary blue? In here and there a bird or a butterfly or flower or wearing stone or open eye, when heaven presents in sheets the solid hue. Since earth is earth, perhaps not heaven as yet, though some savants make earth include the sky, and blue so far above us comes so high, it only gives our wish for blue a whet. So this is for a lot of things, but let's throw coronavirus interpretation on it. Why not? So when you're stuck inside, there's There's all that outdoors you'd love to have, and you see the sky out there, and it's that lovely shade of blue, and all you got in here is, the picture on a water bottle, or, whatever it may be. Okay. Oh wow. So this one is interesting because this one goes a little ways, and I can talk about this one for a while. I'm a fan of this one, but I'm not gonna go into too much analysis with it now. But I'm gonna point out a couple of things. One thing is that first of all, this is kind of about it's kind of about how we sometimes fall to tradition and conventional wisdom. Here, I'm not even really sure how this applies. I'm sure it will. I'm sure we'll come up with something as we're going through this here. Poetry is wonderful that way, right? So, something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen groundswell under it, and spills the upper boulders in the sun, and makes gaps that even two can pass abreast. The work of hunters is another thing. I have come after them and made repair where they have left not one stone on a stone, but they would have out the rabbit of hiding to please the yelping dogs. The gaps, I mean, that no one has seen them made or heard them made, but at spring mending time we find them here. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill, and a day we meet to walk along the line and set the wall between us once again. And so maybe this is kind of the thing is that, the good fences makes good neighbors thing is what, the guy talks about, and maybe here it does apply. It's meant more of as a man stuck in an aphorism, but we'll get to that here. We keep the wall between us as we go. To each the boulders that have fallen to each. Some are loaves, and some are so nearly balls that we have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. We wear our fingers rough with handling of them. Ode is just another outdoor game. One on a side. It comes to little more. This is what we do. There is where we do not need the wall. He is all pine, and I am apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. And this, I'm going to break out here. I think that this is really the main thrust of the poem is, don't need a fence here. We don't need to be putting up a wall. I don't know, I'm putting up a wall anyway because there's a good saying about it. Not exactly the way that it goes, but kind of, yeah, Spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. There is something that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down. I could say elves to him, but it's not elves exactly, and I'd rather he said it for himself. I see him there, bringing a stone firmly grasped by the top, in each hand like an old stone savage armed. He moves in darkness, as it seems to me, not only of woods and the shade of his eyes. He will not go beyond his father's saying, and he likes, having thought of it so well, he says again, good fences make good neighbors. So, if you ever hear that and, somebody says Robert Frost said good fences make good neighbors, remember he was actually, it's not his saying, and that he was quoting it as something that people like, So, but I guess here's the thing is that I guess this applies in, as new information comes along, as, life changes, be aware that, you should need to adapt. Don't just put the wall between the orchard and the pine because there was a wall there before. The apple trees, the pines aren't going to eat the apples. Okay. I'm not going to do Road Not Taken tonight. Okay. So this is, I believe, to his wife. I slumbered with your poems on my breast, spread open as I dropped them, half read, though like dove wings on a figure on a tomb, to see if in a dream they brought of you I might not have the chance I missed in life through some delay, and call you to your face, first soldier, then poet, then both, who died. Oh, right, no, this is. Oh, yeah. Who died a soldier poet of your race. You meant that nothing should remain unsaid between us. Brother, this remained, and one thing more than this was not to say, the victory for what it lost and gained. You went to meet the shell's embrace of fire on Vinley Ridge, and then you fell that day. War seemed more over for you than me, but now for me than you the other way. How over, though, for even me, who knew the foe thrust back and safe beyond the Rhine, if I was not to speak of it to you, as see you pleased once more with words of mine. There's another story behind that one. I'm not gonna go into that one right now. What's the one where he's talking to Eleanor? All right. Okay, so prophets really prophesy as mystics. The commentators merely by statistics. There we go. Come on. Oh, wow. This is going to pull up the JSTOR. Wow. Holy cow. Prophets really prophesy as mystics. The commentators merely by statistics. With what unbroken spirit naive science keeps hurling our Promethean defiance from this atomic ball of rotting rock at the divine safe's combination lock. In our defiance we are still defied. But I have not as prophet prophesied, sick of circling round and round the sun, something about the trouble will be done. Now we found the secret out of wait, now we can cancel it however great. Ah, what avail our lofty engineers if we can't take the planet by the ears? Or by the poles, or simply by the scruff, or simply by saying we have had enough of routine and monotony on earth, where nothing's going on but death and birth. And man's of such a limited longevity, now in the confidence of newfound levity, our gravity has been our major curse. We'll cast off Hauser for the universe. See Robert Frost? He saw the space age happen. He didn't see a whole lot of it, but he did. So I love that. All right, so I'm gonna wrap up with a few tips here. All right, we're gonna switch back over to speaking a little more directly to how to deal with coronavirus and anxiety. So, first thing, if you're having anxiety about something dealing with coronavirus, all right, you prevent the anxiety attack things here. You've got the 5 grounding things: 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 emotion you can feel. Breathe deeply in through your nose and out through your mouth. So, also, deep breathing, even if you're not grounding, makes a tremendous difference. It helps you slow down in a way that is incredibly useful. So if you can, do your deep breathing in that moment. So, another thing. It is so easy when you are trying to make decisions about what to do, to let yourself be overwhelmed by things that are outside of your control. Remember, do not try to affect things that are outside of your control. Understand what they are. So, this is the old classic Marcus Aurelius. This is the Serenity Prayer, however you want to look at it. It is, Understand, okay, there are things you control, there are things you cannot control. Understand the difference between the two, change the things you can, accept the things you cannot, okay? Know them. So, that is always important. It's actually daily planner. Oh, planning out a day, of course, also good. But what we're going to do here is we're going to go through the ABCDE technique. I can never quite remember what all those are for, so I have to pull it up. All right. But this is important because this is a way of, okay, so you've got that anxiety attack going on and you ground yourself, but now it's not an attack, you're having thoughts. And these thoughts, the problem is that there's so many thoughts that can be like, oh, it's this, and you find yourself having the thought that is just repeating and is just a negative thought over and over and over again. So instead of that, here's what you do. You go through ABCDE. This is, and I just want to put this in a little bit of perspective here. This is thought challenging. When you have a negative thought, ask yourself these questions, because so often those thoughts you have are not ones that are going to be doing you any good. So, and this is a way of just determining that. So first of all, A, attention. When you feel distress, stop what you're doing and pay attention to your inner dialogue. What is your mind telling you? So this is a case where you're not really sure why you're feeling in a certain way, but you know that you are, so you just go ahead and check in with yourself, see how it's going. Number 2, do not automatically believe your thoughts. B, do not believe them, okay? Don't go, oh, just because I'm thinking it means it's real. You are not the sole progenitor of all thought in the universe. There are other minds out there and other things are going on, and just because you are having a thought does not make it true. So find out, then challenge that thought. Diffuse your anxiety by broadening your focus. What is the big picture here? Is the thought fact or opinion? And that is an important thing right there. Make note. Is that based on something that you actually know, or is that based on something that you've heard, or is that based on something that you're afraid of? Remember, thoughts that come from emotions are opinions. Thoughts that come from things in the outside world that are data, those are more likely to be facts. And even those, check the facts, okay? And again, don't be running around and looking for news. Check your media environment. Make certain that it's got positive things in it. Make certain you're not exposing yourself to too much negative information. I'm trying to keep it out of this podcast, or excuse me, out of these live streams. So with any luck, I'm hopefully not scaring people off with the data at the beginning. All right, so then after you've challenged it, ask yourself whether it's that fact or opinion. What might you, now also, would the thought that you're having at this moment be different if you were in a calmer state of mind? If you're in a calmer state of mind, would you be going, like that? Or would it be like, no, probably not. Probably going to be okay, right? Okay. Discount. Acknowledge that a lot of your thoughts are coming from emotions and anxiety, and that it has been dominating your thinking, and that if it is a thought that is coming from that, it's like, okay, that's where it's coming from, fine. It doesn't need to helping me. It's not helping me. Let it go. Put it away. It's gone. Let it go. It's done. And it's, it'll probably try and come back and push it away again. It's not a helpful thought. Seriously, challenge those thoughts. No point in thinking that. Don't think that. Tell yourself that. No reason to do so. I find it incredibly helpful to do that. Not everyone does. Lastly, explore other options, okay? Explore other things you could be doing. Just if your mind is doing a spin and a monkey mind and that kind of thing, that's when you go ahead, okay, you know what? I am going to go, for me, I have been clocking more time on video games than I usually do, various things like that. So if that's what it needs to be, do something like that. If you need to just chill out, call a friend, then do that too. There are so many things that you can do. But yeah. All right. So thank you all for being here. Any of you who were here, let's actually see if anybody was actually watching this stream. I'm kind of curious. The answer is not really. Okay, that's fine. I do need to set up for these a little bit better sometimes. All right, so thank you for everyone who is here. Thank you if you're watching this in the replay. I hope that some of this has been helpful to you, and I will be doing this again tomorrow night. Not in 24 hours, but in fact, in a full 25 hours. Yes, tomorrow night's live, or actually Well, no, I guess. Well, anyway, tomorrow night's live stream will be beginning, in fact, in 24 hours at the same time this one is ending. So tomorrow night's live stream will be starting at 10 p.m. I'm going to be trying to start them a little bit later here, see if that's going to be helpful for people. And again, if you have any poems that you would like to share, if you would like for me to read, please let me know. I will be glad to read them online. All right, you folks, take care of yourselves, be well, and yeah, we're going to make it through this. Oh, and one last thing for all of us.